Hello everyone and welcome to today's session on getting started with two-factor authentication. You may also hear me refer to this as 2FA throughout the webinar. This session is going to last approximately 45 minutes, which will include a Q&A at the end. So my name is Abby. I'm a learning facilitator here at Sage, where I will take you through the demonstration of setting up and using two-factor authentication. We'll also be sharing a video from Mads, who is a leader within our global information security team. Mads will take you through the importance of security and protecting your data. Now, it is just myself on today's session, so I will be hosting and I will be answering any of your questions. So if you do have any questions, do bear with me and I'll try and get to those whilst we're live on the session. If I don't get a chance to do that, I will pick them up after the session is ended and I will contact you via email. Okay, so just before we begin, I just want to go through a little bit of housekeeping. So when you join, you will be placed on mute automatically. If you wish to ask me any questions, then click on the icon that looks like a little speech bubble with the question mark in the middle. To download a copy of today's handout, then click the icon that looks like a little document with the folded corner. And I would recommend downloading this as it will have some links to helpful resources. Please note, like every session, this is going to be recorded and it will be included in your follow-up email, which you will receive around an hour after the session has ended. And that's going to include any videos that we show today as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what to expect on today's session. So I'm firstly going to play you a video from Mads, who will explain what two-factor authentication is, what is data security, and how could your data be at risk. We'll then cover why we have introduced 2FA and why it's important to you. After the video, I will cover how does 2FA impact you. We'll also cover some questions that have been asked on previous sessions. Again, do keep your questions coming throughout the session and I will try my best to answer these as well, but maybe wait until after the common questions, just as it might be a question that you're going to ask, but we're actually already covering. I will then cover how easy it is to set up and use, and this will include video demonstration showing you the different methods of how you can authenticate. Towards the end, I will cover when you will need to start using 2FA, and then we'll dedicate some time to answer some of the questions if we still have any outstanding. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to get stuck in with Mads' part, so we'll play the first video. Again, if you do have any questions, do pop them across to me.
So my name is Mads Howard and I manage our Chief Information Securities Office and I help oversee all of the security programs that we run as a global security team. Now our team is based globally and we not only protect us as a business from cyber attacks but spend a huge amount of time supporting our customers and aiding our customers and helping them navigate the really complex technology world that is facing cyber attacks on a daily basis. Now, fully understand that adjusting to a new technology change can sometimes be challenging. It can feel like you don't want to have this change happen, but two-factor authentication and the fact that it is being implemented is a really important step for us to be taking as a business and for us to be helping you as our customers go through. It's ultimately there to help protect you, yourselves, and our customers from cyber attacks. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes setting the scene from the perspective of global security, why we are kind of going through this technology change and why it's not only important to you, but also beneficial to you and your business. And as I go through this, what I really want you to think about is how does this go beyond my Sage account? So two-factor authentication isn't a new technology that Sage has introduced it is available on most accounts, whether that's your social media, your personal email, your Amazon, whatever it might be. You will be able to enable two-factor authentication for free. And so as we step through this webinar today, I want you to think about actually why is this important in today's world, and how can this help make you more secure all round. So a little bit about what is data security and what is two-factor authentication, or 2FA as Abby mentioned, we're going to refer to it as. So data security refers to how we as humans protect our digital assets from unauthorized access. And when we're talking about unauthorized access, that could be anybody. It could be from cyber criminals. It could be from your kids that you don't want accessing your phone. But anything that is connected to the internet is a digital asset. Now, if you are running any part of your business and you are connected to the internet, this means that you have digital assets. So I'm sure you're thinking now, actually, you've got lots of digital assets that you want to protect and you don't want people to have access to that shouldn't. So previously, we have had passwords as a protective layer on accounts, and as technology has advanced and we all enjoy the luxuries of better technology, so is the technology that cyber criminals can access. And in 2024 and beyond, a strong password is kind of no longer good enough to help protect your account. Cyber criminals are very sophisticated in how they crack passwords, in how they guess passwords, and also where they can sell them on the dark web. And this is where two-factor authentication comes in. So if any password, again, whether this is your Sage password or your personal email password, is cracked by cyber criminals, if you have two-factor authentication enabled, it ultimately stops them from being able to log in and access your details. Now, you've probably experienced two-factor authentication in some capacity, whether that's through onto your mobile banking, you might have experienced it through biometrics before, but two-factor authentication is becoming more and more kind of a regular occurrence in how businesses are looking to protect their customers and protect their data. So why is this important? Well, you might be thinking, there's no way that a cyber criminal is going to have access to my password, or why would they want my password? And you'd really be surprised at the amount of passwords that are cracked and leaked by cyber criminals daily and kind of published online, often without us knowing. And we're going to share in the chat a really great website, which I'd encourage you all to have a look at, called Have I Been Pwned?, where you can see if any of your details have ever been included in a breach. And you'd be surprised. I've had details included in breaches before that I had no idea about. And what I want you to do is I want you to kind of consider that if your password has been considered to be found in a breach, and also your email has, all it takes is a cyber criminal to pair the two together and they could access your account. If two-factor authentication was there, they wouldn't be able to do that. You would get a notification and you'd be able to kind of stop that cyber criminal ultimately in their tracks. So I hope that gives you a bit of context as to the reason why we're introducing this. This isn't something that is being done to make things more difficult. This is ultimately being put in place because we want to protect you, you're our customers. We want to do the right thing by you. So a little bit about why have we introduced it? Well, I've talked a little bit there about it being best practice. And if we didn't introduce it now, we'd be introducing it shortly because we'd either be behind the curve or we'd have missed the boat and we wouldn't be doing the right thing for our customers. To give you a bit of context, we recently, as a global security team, conducted some research and we found that 25% of small to medium-sized businesses had experienced one incident in the last year, and that's just attacks that they know about. And secondly, 51% said that keeping on top of latest threats was their biggest challenge. And this tells us that it is a pain point for our customers and your fellow small to medium-sized businesses. You're worrying about this, and so we want to help to look to simplify this and take away that pain to give you peace of mind that your account is secure with us. Secondly, we as a global security team, as I said, we don't just protect us as a business, but we spend a lot of time supporting our customers if they do have their accounts breached. And in 2024, we've supported thousands of customers who simply had their password guessed by cybercriminals, or they were using the same password on multiple accounts, or their password had been cracked, and cybercriminals had logged into their account. Now, thankfully, we've got an amazing team, and we were able to stop that, like any damage occurring really quite rapidly. But if 2FA had been implemented, then those attacks wouldn't have even occurred, and our customers wouldn't have gone through that stress and that worry of, is their data safe and secure? Now, all of these attacks that we've seen over the last year, we know that this is the right thing for us to do for our customers, and we want to make sure that we are helping you and guiding you to be the most secure versions of yourselves. So it's really important that I stress that, as we as a team, if ever you think you are experiencing something, you can always reach out to us as a global security team. We are here to support and help you. But ultimately, if we introduce two-factor authentication, we will help you on that way to being more secure. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight as to the why this is important. It's not there to slow you down. It is ultimately there to protect you and your business and the hard work that you put into your business.
Okay, so if you are wanting any more information about what Mads was talking about in that video, then I am going to provide you a link towards the end of the session. It is in your handout if you do want to check it out, and it'll go into more detail. So now we're going to move on to how does 2FA impact me? So how will 2FA impact your product? So this part is really important, so feel free to make notes, and remember you can also download the handout as well. So here we have 3 scenarios. 2FA will only impact scenario 1 and scenario 2. So scenario 1, you use connected services within your Sage 50 accounts software. So that may be several services or just one. So that could be the likes of bank feeds, remote data access, invoice finance, go cardless, supplier payments, and Sage Connect. So you will be prompted for 2FA when you are required to re-authenticate or setting up using your Sage account. There is a remember this device option, but I will talk about that more later on in the session. If you're not sure if you are using connected services, you can pop into the help and about page in your software, and then just look for the features enabled section, and that will tell you which ones are activated. They'll have like a little yes or a no. Now, scenario 2 is where we introduced version 31 in November. So there is an AI tool called Sage Copilot, where you'll be required to log in with your Sage account. So that's the difference between scenario 1 and scenario 2. Scenario 2, you'll log in with your Sage account. Scenario 1, you'll still log in with your normal username and password. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail around Copilot, as I have included some information at the end if you do want to read more into it, and how Sage Copilot works. And then scenario 3. So scenario 3 is not yet impacted by 2FA. So if you do not currently use connected services and currently have no plans to adopt either scenario 1 or 2 by the time it's been made mandatory, and you just log in with your username and password only, you will not be prompted for 2FA. However, we are encouraging everyone to get ready for 2FA, as it is in our product roadmap as a phased approach, where it will be rolled out to everyone. We do not have specific timescales, but it will be coming. Okay, so there's often a lot of confusion between when you would use your logon name and when you'd use your Sage account and when to use them. So on the left, we have the normal logon screen that you'll see when you log into your software. This is a username and password combination. So this might be manager, or it might be a name that you've been given, a username that you've been given and assigned to log into your Sage software and complete your day-to-day processing tasks in Sage 50 accounts. A Sage account, which is the one on the right, may be used if you are logging into many of our online services. Might be like your My Sage invoices, but this may also be used if you are using connected services such as remote data access or bank feeds, like I said, the ones I mentioned earlier. This differs in that it requires an email address rather than a username. So when using two-factor authentication in the software, you will only see the screen on the right, the option on the right, if you are setting up a connected service. It has asked you to re-authenticate a connected service, or if you are using Sage Copilot, then this is the screen you'll see when you log in. And this is when it will prompt you for your 6-digit code if you haven't selected to remember me for 30 days. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit more about this Sage account. And so we're going to go through a little bit of a Sage account ecosystem. So a Sage account gets you access to many different services in product and online. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got connected services. So this is within your Sage 50 account software, and it gets you access to the different add-ons I mentioned earlier. It might be that you've accessed the community hub before. So this is a forum where you can ask questions, suggest new ideas, and vote on other ideas for future versions, and just general discussions. Mentioned this one before as well, so My Sage. So you or a colleague might be the person who accesses the invoices for your Sage products. It might be that you've raised a support ticket, so you might have raised a ticket with our report design team or our Excel team. It might be that you've used our support services, so it may be that you've had data corruption and you've needed a data repair by our specialist teams. And lastly, Sage University. So it could be that you've completed some courses on our Sage University website on processes and legislations. So it may be that you already have a Sage account that you can utilize without realizing. So that's just one part of the 2FA process already completed. So I can see your questions come through there from Peter. Is the email address and password the same for My Sage? So yes, so you can use the same logon details if you've accessed any of these online services. You can use the same Sage account, and also as well, if you've used a Sage account for a different product, you can also use it for 50 accounts as well. You don't need one specific to the product. Okay, so let's go through some important questions answered. So these are some of the questions that we've had on previous sessions. We've been doing these sessions since probably about September time, August, September time. We've been doing these sessions. So we've accumulated some questions that you might already have. So the first question is, why am I not able to use an email to receive a code? So we believe in using the best and most secure methods to protect your data. However, emails are where cybercriminals will target first to gain access. So we consider using authentication app or text or phone call more secure. What if I don't want to use my personal device or mobile? If you do not wish to use your personal number, an authenticator app on your phone does not use or store any personal data. Alternatively, you can use a landline in an office to receive a call, as long as an extension number is not required. Which version of Sage 50 accounts will require 2FA? So all versions will support 2FA. For connected service users, 2FA will be triggered when re-authentication is required, which can be any time up to 6 months. So it's not necessarily going to be at the point of logging into your software. Whereas if you use version 31 and you have Copilot, users can authenticate daily or every 30 days. So it works slightly differently for that. However, if you are using connected services, you do still have the option to remember me for 30 days as well. So that option is available. Mobile authentication apps are offering a free trial or trying to charge. So the 3 recommendations that we're going to go through do not charge to use. If you are unsure, try visiting the provider's website to ensure you are downloading the correct app. And lastly, what if we are unable to use mobile or landline? So desktop authentication is available to use, but this is not a method that we recommend, as we do not consider this the most secure option. It is important to note that some desktop authenticators do charge, whereas mobile authenticator apps are free. If you do have any issues using desktop authentication, it is not something that we support, and you would need to go back to the provider. Additionally, you will be only able to authenticate from that location. So if you use 2 devices, so it could be you have a computer in the office and a laptop at home, you would only be able to authenticate from that desktop in the office. So that's why we recommend a mobile authenticator is more flexible. I have also included a link for the FAQs, so if you have the handout downloaded, that FAQ button is clickable and it will take you to the relevant page. Okay, so let's move on to how easy is it to use. So the setup process is broken down into 3 stages. We'll outline the key points, then we'll run through a video demonstration. So when you come to set up two-factor authentication, like I say, we've got a guide, or if you log into we have got guides to prompt this setup, or if you log into your Sage account, you may be prompted when you log in on there. When you come to set up two-factor authentication and you click the prompt to set it up, it's then going to send a unique link to your email address. You'll then click that link and then it'll take you to the setup process. So you're going to choose which method you want to use to authenticate. So that can be text, phone call, or authenticator app. Now, you are restricted if you use a text or phone call to 5 codes per hour. So if you have multiple companies and you're needing to authenticate every time, you are restricted to 5 codes per hour. However, the Authenticator app has no limit. So that's why, again, the Authenticator app is a lot more flexible. Once you've applied your authentication method, it's then going to provide you with I think it's 24 characters of a 24 character recovery code. And you will need to make a note of that, as that is your key to getting back in if you don't have your primary method to hand. Okay, so let's take a look at the video demonstration. We are going to demonstrate the process twice, once when using the app, and then once for if you were to use a text or phone call. Now, don't worry if you cannot follow the video as it's happening. Some people find it okay to follow, some find it a bit quick. Don't worry, as the video is going to be included in your follow-up email, but I'm also going to show you guides as well on how to get that activated. Okay, so like I say, if you do have any questions, do pop them across whilst the video's playing as well, and I'll pick these up after the video's ended.
At Sage, we safeguard your security, value your privacy, and uphold the highest standards of data ethics. To continue to keep your business safe from cyber attacks and fraud, we've added an extra layer of security. This is two-factor authentication, also known as 2FA. Once set up, you'll be required to enter a 6-digit code. However, for added convenience, your Sage product can remember you for 30 days. This means you only enter the verification passcode again once the 30-day period has lapsed. The setup process is easy, and there are two options to choose from: using an Authenticator app or receiving a code to your phone. We recommend using an Authenticator app as they provide the best level of security. 3 popular apps are Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or Authy. When choosing an app, look for one that offers capability with your devices and the ability to manage multiple accounts. The setup process will differ slightly depending on which app you choose to use. For the purpose of this demonstration, we'll use the Microsoft Authenticator app. First, let's set up 2FA using an Authenticator app, then we'll show you the process using text or phone call. To set up 2FA, visit the Help Centre. In the search bar, enter Setup 2FA and click the search icon. You will be presented with a set of results. Select the guide. Under the Resolution section, click Account Management area and log into your Sage account. Select two-factor authentication and then click here to send the email. Open the email and click the unique link to begin the setup. Open your Authenticator app and click to add an account. You'll be presented with 3 options. Select Other. Next, scan the QR code. If you can't, you can enter a unique code instead with the link provided here. Once connected, the app will provide you with a 6-digit code. Please note this code is temporary, and after a short time the code will regenerate. You should always enter the most up-to-date code. Enter your code here, then click to continue. Next, you'll be given a recovery code. You'll need this if you want to log in the future, but do not have access to your Authenticator app. Copy this and keep it somewhere safe. This is a one-time use code, and once used, you will be given a new code. Remember to take note of the new code each time. Select the checkbox to indicate you have saved your code, and then click Continue. Two-factor authentication has now been set up successfully. Let's move on to setting up using a text or phone call. When you are prompted to set up two-factor authentication, click here. A prompt appears explaining the 2 ways to verify it's you. To continue, click Phone, and then select your country code and then enter your phone number in the box provided. Choose which method you'd like to use here. A landline number can be provided for phone call verification, however, this will only work if an extension number is not required. To move on, click Continue. Enter the 6-digit code provided by text or phone call in this box, then click Continue. Next, you'll be given your recovery code. Copy this and keep it somewhere safe. Select the checkbox to indicate you have saved your code and click Continue. Once you've set up 2FA, log into your Sage account with your verification code. We'll show you this now. For the purpose of this demonstration, we will log into the Sage account using the Microsoft Authenticator. You'll receive an automatic prompt asking for your 6-digit code. If you require a different verification method, click here. Your options are listed, including your recovery code. If you used an app to set up 2FA, access the app on your device to retrieve your 6-digit code. Please note this code is temporary, and after a short time the code will regenerate. Enter the code here and select this checkbox if you would like to be remembered on this device for the next 30 days, meaning you do not need to enter the verification code each time you log in. After 30 days, you will be asked for a new 6-digit code. To complete the verification and log in, click Continue. You have now logged in using two-factor authentication. You have now learned how to set up and use two-factor authentication with your Sage account.
Okay, so again, just a reminder, don't worry if you weren't able to follow in real time, you will get access to that recording. Okay, so one key part of this process I want to bring to your attention and reiterate how important it is to make a note of your recovery code, and also when you are prompted to apply a recovery method. So the recovery code is a one-time code to authenticate when you do not have access to your primary method. So it might be that you've forgot or lost your phone and don't have access to the Authenticator app or to receive a text or call. Once you've utilised that long code, you will then be provided with a new one to make a note of and keep safe for if you need to use this method again. The recovery method is an alternative email address or phone number that can be used to generate a new recovery code or reset two-factor authentication. You would only use this method if you no longer have access to your primary method or your recovery code. You need to use either a recovery phone number or a recovery email address. The phone number and the email address needs to be different from the original primary method and also different from the Sage account as well. We have had cases where someone has used the Authenticator app as their primary method, but also used the phone number for the same device and didn't have access to the recovery code, and they had their phone stolen. So this meant they had to get in contact with support to gain access to their Sage account. So as long as you've made a note of your recovery code and set up a recovery method when prompted, you will always have a way of gaining access to your account. So even if you've lost your phone or got a new phone, they're all resolved by having this recovery process in place. If you do choose email as your method, and you might have it set to a colleague, just make sure that if they do leave the business that you update the method in case you don't have access to their email address to recover your account. Okay, some more summary and considerations. So one thing I want to make clear is that you must use the QR code scanner that's within your Authenticator app, as using the normal phone camera app will not link them correctly. You can authenticate via a call to a landline if an extension number is not required. The recovery email must differ, again, like I say, from the email that you sign up with. You can also copy and paste the recovery code to a safe place, like a secure passworded document, rather than writing it all down and then having to manually type it in. And remember, this device for 30 days option will be available per user with a Sage account for each company. Okay, so the next steps, if you wish to get this set up now in time for mandation, the steps are provided on the handout. You can just click Get Started button. If you've already set up 2FA, but you would like to change your authentication method, you do have to remove it and set it back up. Or if you wish to change your recovery method, you can also do this within the account management window. So if you've got the handout downloaded, you can also click on Update Details. I've also provided a link to the FAQ page again, so I would absolutely recommend you check this out, as it does seem to answer majority of the questions. Now, before we move on to the next part of the session, I just want to show you some resources that we've got available on our help centre as well. So if you go to sage.co.uk/help, it'll bring you to this page here. If we scroll down, you've got the to choose your product, and you've got a two-factor authentication hub right here. So if we click on that, it's then going to ask if you're a customer or an accountant. We'll choose customer, and then we'll choose our Sage 50 accounts product. So here you can find out more about 2FA, set it up, logging in, how to change your device, how to log in without the 2FA device. This one's really important as well. So 2FA for multi-user Sage accounts. So if you've got multiple users, they will need to set up their own Sage account and their own authentication method. So you can actually go on here, grab the guide, which is exactly the same guide that's on the handout, and you can share that with your colleagues. You can see there also as well, we've got the common questions that I've linked to. Now, if we just pop back to the Help Centre again, and this time we go into Sage 50 accounts, and then you'll see this little Sage Assistant here. You can also use the Sage Assistant to get support. So if we just type in 2FA, and then you can click Set Up, or Set Up for multi-users, or if you've got a problem, and it'll give you some support on there as well. Really good question that's just come through there from Christine. So as an accountant, I have access to 16 Sage accounts. Do I need a separate 2FA for each company? So you can actually, I mean, it's entirely you how you want to work this. You can use the same email address for multiple companies. So instead of having 16 Sage accounts, don't know if it's worth just condensing that down into using the one Sage account. If you are going to stick with using the 16 accounts, then you will need to set up 2FA for each Sage account that you have, yes. But it is designed where you can use it across multiple companies, across multiple products. So hopefully that might give you a bit better way of working there. Okay, so we'll just come back to my slides. So when do I need to start using 2FA? So we began to introduce 2FA to add in an extra layer of security among some of our products in May 2024. We already have over 400,000 two-factor authentication users across all of our products, just in UK and Ireland alone. We have, it'll probably be a bit over 50,000 now, 2FA users just for 50 accounts before it's even been made mandatory. Now, a mandation date will be communicated to all customers in due course, so keep an eye out for that as well. And as I've mentioned, it is going to be starting with Sage Copilot and connected service users initially. However, if you wish to set it up now, you can following the steps that we've shown you today. We are encouraging users to get set up now, so when it is rolled out to everyone, the Sage account is already set up with 2FA and ready to go. Okay, so for customers who are using remote data access, you will follow the same guidance we have just covered, but with some additional considerations. So I know a question came in from Rachel earlier. Can more than one person have a Sage account in our business? Should each user set up their own Sage account to access our remote data? So all individual remote data access users will need to use their own unique login. So sharing logins will no longer work. Now we know this has never been best practice, and we don't encourage sharing logins. However, we did accept some users have worked this way in the past. However, each user will require their own login by the time this has become mandatory. So they'll need their own username and their own email address when they're using remote data access. Now, even if they are not accessing the product remotely, so for example, you might have a office setup and you might have multiple users working in the office connected via a server where the data is held, but then you might have some people who work remotely, so that's why you're also using remote data access. So those users who are working in the office connected via the server, they'll still need an email address assigned to their username, and this will trigger an automated email for them to invite them to connect remotely, but they can just ignore that. And then finally, once unique users have created their own Sage account, they can also begin to set up their own two-factor authentication method. And the beauty of this as well is it's not everybody has to use the same method. It's quite accessible, so some people want to use a phone call, some people want to use text, and some people want to use the Authenticator app. They are more than welcome to do so. They would just set themselves up. Okay, so to summarise the session as we're coming to a close shortly. So no changes will take place until a mandation date has been agreed, unless you have other products linked to your Sage account where it's already mandatory. So you might be using some products as well as other Sage products as well as 50 accounts. So it might be Sage accounting, for example, where it's already mandatory. And you use the same Sage account for 50. It may prompt you at that point. Again, we're starting with Sage Copilot and connected service users initially, then all other users eventually. 2FA will only impact connected service users when they need to re-authenticate. So again, not necessarily going to be at the point of logging in. Each user requires a unique username and email address. So if they might use a shared one at the moment, and you're unable to create one through the business domain, then there is other free email providers available. If you already have a Sage account for other products or online services, this can also be utilised for 50 accounts. And lastly, as I've said, each user will create their own Sage account and set up their own 2FA. Questions just coming there from Christine. So is 2FA required for Sage 50 payroll? I do believe that it is for the online services. So I think it's the online pay slips. But as for logging in, I don't think that's the case at the moment. Another question there from Andy. So I have my own login for day-to-day work on Sage, but also occasionally log in under the manager, adding new colleagues. Will I need to have another 2FA set up for the manager login? So it's entirely up to you in terms of if you want to do everything that you do on manager, because if you're using remote data access, you will need to apply an email address to the manager login, but also to your user that you use to do your everyday processing, and you can't use the email more than once. It won't allow you to put it on more than one user. So if you are going to have two email addresses set up, then it might be that a case of you set it up for both, or you just log in as the manager user and just have the email address associated with that. But again, it's not going to impact you unless you're using remote data access. Okay, so I have included some guides down the right hand side. So again, I've popped on that create a Sage account for setting up 2FA. I've also just provided the generic help center and also the two-factor authentication hub that I showed you earlier. Okay, so last chance to send us questions across. I've covered all the ones that we've had come through so far. So just while we're waiting for any further to come through, just want to talk more about the helpful resources. So again, I've provided that FAQ page. We've also provided a link to the 2FA security information. So that covers more in terms of what Mads was talking about at the beginning of the session. And then lastly as well, it was just the link that was mentioned in Mads's speech in the video, have I been pawned? So has my email been included in a data breach? I've used this myself with my personal email, and it was quite surprising to see what my personal email had actually been included in over the past 10 to 15 years. So definitely worth checking that out, and just gives you a little bit of insight as well, as you know, you might be surprised with what you see on there. Okay, so I've talked a lot about Copilot, Sage Copilot. So basically what Sage Copilot does is it keeps an eye on your data and workflows, flagging irregularities, errors, and opportunities. It provides key insights and suggests actions, helping you to make smart decisions faster. If you'd like to register for this features, it still is in the early adopters stage. You can either click the link on your handout, or the link will be in your follow-up email. Okay, so just in terms of what's coming up in February, so we have the next banking badge. So we've done badging events before and who proved very popular. So this time we're doing banking excellence. That's how you can earn your digital badge in February. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you a short video of what sort of sessions we're going to be covering.
We have some exciting news for 50 accounts users. Are you ready to revolutionize your banking experience? Join us for an incredible journey through 8 sessions from February the 4th right through to the 20th, designed to streamline processing and enhance efficiency. Simply attend 6 out of the 8 sessions and the quiz to test your knowledge, and you will earn your very own Digital Banking Excellence badge. This will be added to the new Accredible portal, where you can collect and manage all your badges. From here, you can share your badges with colleagues, clients, and suppliers to show your progression to becoming a Sage expert. Imagine a world where your bank transactions are simplified. Now, throughout these sessions, you'll dive deep into topics like simplifying bank transactions, managing customer receipts and supplier payments, mastering bank reconciliation, and revolutionizing your bank by automating with bank feeds. We'll show you how to simplify your routine with bank recurring items and how to correct bank errors. Harness the power of e-payments and add your bank information to invoices for faster payments. Don't forget, to earn your digital badge, you need to attend at least 6 out of these 8 sessions and complete the quiz. Transform the way you work with the bank, get paid faster, and automate your processing with Sage 50 accounts.
Okay, so I'd like to say, if you do want to get registered for any of those sessions, we've got plenty of sessions coming up. So you can just go to sage.co.uk/webinars. Now, we have had a couple of questions come through in terms of, how do I know, is this, different scenarios, is this going to affect me? Am I using connected services? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can look in your software. I'm just loading up my Sage software at the moment, so just bear with me a brief moment. So I'm just going to switch over to my Sage software. And if you go to Help along the top, into About, and we'll let that load up. And if we scroll down, on the left-hand side, we've got features enabled. So you can see there's quite a lot in here, and not all of this is going to be related to connected services, but you can refer to, like I say, the handout that listed those there. So at the moment, let's have a quick look. So I don't have any connected services on at the moment. So you can see remote data access. It says no. It says for bank feeds, it's got a no. So the other ones like invoice finance, Sage Connect. So you can see at the moment I've got no connected services. So what that would mean is that 2FA at this moment in time would not impact me. So I would just log in as normal. But again, over time, it is going to be a phased approach, and it will come for everyone eventually. If you did have yes in remote data access or yes in bank feeds, that means you've got connected services, and therefore you would need to set up two-factor authentication and a Sage account. Okay, so let's pop back to my slides. Okay, so we've run over slightly, but that does bring us to the end of today's session. If you've got any further questions to ask, I'll stay around for another minute or so. If you've got what you need today and you want to leave the session, you will receive an email in around an hour or so with links to both our webinar schedule and today's recorded session for you to refer back to if needs be. Upon exiting the session, you will see a survey at the end. If you could please let me know any feedback regarding today's session, what you liked, what you think we could have done better. We do always love to read those, and we read every comment, and we do love to read those comments as well. Okay, so there's a question there from Shanaz. Found very complicating work only part-time and log in only quarterly. Is there easy way to log in, or will support help? So what I'll do is I would advise you to speak with our support team there, and we can do more of a deep dive on that as well there, Shanaz. Okay, so majority of the questions, well, all of the questions I should say, have been answered. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this session up. I want to say thank you to you all for your participation. And just a reminder, we've got plenty of sessions over the next couple of weeks. So I want to say another thank you and take care.